every single free and paid tool that'll actually help you scale your Amazon businesses in this video. Because after selling over $6 million on Amazon myself, I've seen tons of software out there and I've tried pretty much everything. This video is going to be your quick guide to getting as much value as possible from the tools you use to run your business. So let's just go ahead and get started with the true essentials. I'm going to start with the paid tools you need, and then we're going to move on to some of the free softwares that you might as well get, especially since they're free. And I know, especially when I was a new Amazon seller, I wanted to know exactly what was actually going to help my business grow. So you're going to be able to save a ton of time using all these great softwares, free websites, free Chrome extensions, and more. But it all starts with obviously being able to source profitable products on Amazon. And that's where two different sourcing softwares come into play. And these are the only sourcing softwares that you actually need to be an effective Amazon seller. Over 90% of the inventory that I've sourced to sell, well over $5 million worth of my sales have come from sourcing them using SellerAmp and Keepa. Those are these two tools right here. These are both 20 bucks a month, and they're pretty much essential. If you know much at all about selling on Amazon, you can probably skip forward a minute or two because you'll probably already have these softwares. But if you don't, let me just quickly show you, right? So SellerAmp shows you all the essential data that you need to know about your product. For example, on this listing, we know that it sells 300 times a month. We know that if we can buy it for about $9, we're going to make an ideal profit. We're able to figure out how consistent these items are. For example, one thing I like to look at is to make sure that the average price I'm also profitable at. And to be honest, pretty much every tool in this video that we're going to talk about has an extremely detailed video on my channel. So if you want to dive into more detail on any of this, I'd really recommend checking those videos out. But specifically for SellerAmp, probably the most important thing to use it for is using this to source other profitable items. So for example, on this item, this is something I found on Amazon for 20 bucks, and over on this website, I'm able to get these for about $3 each. And when it comes to sourcing profitable items to sell on Amazon, never forget about extra discounts. So in this case, I'm also taking advantage of an extra 10% off when I plug in my email. I can use that as many times as I want and get these for a nice discounted rate, right? So that's just like one example. And I actually found this profitable item using SellerAmp, because if I open up one of these storefronts here, I'm going to be able to very quickly see all of the different items that these other Amazon sellers have already found. And this is going to lead to basically an infinite method for finding more and more profitable items. For example, this shower gel, something like that. I don't know if I've ever seen this before, but it seems it's just shower gel, that kind of thing. If we can buy this for $24, it is going to be profitable. So I'm just really curious. I'll just check like this first item here, and it might actually be profitable. Let's see, 32 ounces. I see this is actually 21 ounces. Seems like the brand's website themselves sells it for 45. So I bet what happened here is this Amazon seller is probably sourcing from like a local retail store. They're probably actually going out to the store, scanning barcodes with the SellerAmp app to find things. That would make sense to me. That's how they're getting these cheap enough. And in order to find profitable items, it's really just a matter of scrolling through these stores here and opening up things that you think you might be able to buy for that max cost. For example, looking through one of these storefronts on the listing, I was able to quickly check and see for some reason people are paying like 30 bucks for this Stitch pendant of some kind, and it actually sells at my local Walmart for $8.88. So you just buy this online, get it shipped to you, or you can always go out to the local stores and pick it up while you're out if you want to get it a little bit quicker. And here in this case, you can see we can pay $8.88 for this, sell it for 30 bucks, and we're able to source that item because we're using SellerAmp here. And the other piece of the puzzle, as far as sourcing inventory, there's lots more data that's useful to look at on SellerAmp, but I also like referencing the data on Keepa as well. One of those things that I don't see a lot of people taking advantage of as much as I think you should be is the data offers tab on Keepa. There's lots of other data. Like I said, if you want to see every single thing all of these tools do, go check out one of the full tutorials. But specifically, the offers tab is very powerful. I want to show you what the power of this feature actually is, because I can go into the offers tab, I can include historical, and this is now showing me anyone who's ever sold this listing. It's showing me their stock count and their price over time. So if you're someone who's new to Amazon and you're not sure, are people actually paying this insane price for this item that I'm hoping to sell? You can go in here and say, all right, during all of July, their stock started decreasing a bunch. They shipped some more in, started decreasing even more. And during that same time period, their price was about $20.95, right? So you can see they sold about 200 of these products in 30 days just by themselves, selling it at $20.95. So a little bit more expensive than we were even considering selling these to begin with, right? So the offers tab is really powerful to, number one, confirm that people actually do want to buy that item, but also figure out like how much should I buy, right? Because in this case, you can see multiple different sellers having success selling out pretty quickly when they stock a decent amount in, right? So this seller had 18 in stock, and then a week later, a few days into August, they were at like 3, right? So they're selling multiple per day, and we're seeing that on lots of different Amazon sellers on this listing. So that kind of gives you the confidence to go in, and instead of buying 5 or 10 to see how fast it sells, you can just skip that part of the process and go straight in with 100, 200, whatever you think you're going to actually be able to have success with. Based on what I'm seeing here, personally, I'd probably buy 50 to 100 of these units because they do seem to be selling really quickly. And another underutilized feature of Keepa is the track product feature. So let's say as you're sourcing, you're going to come across a lot of items that aren't quite profitable right now, but you know exactly how you would find the profit on them if the price goes up a little bit. So what you can do is you can actually go to the buy box right here, and I could say, hey, send me an email when the price is, let's just say, for sake of example, over $22. If that's where you need the price to become profitable, you can start tracking that item, and then you're going to get an email from Keepa when that price is higher, and your email inbox starts to become some leads on autopilot, right? And if you want to make that even more powerful, you'll combine that with SellerAmp, because what we can do is we can actually use the Google Sheets feature of SellerAmp to store a ton of information about any product we want to sell. So on this, where let's say we're waiting for the price to come back up, we can just click this almost good button, go ahead and grab that source link, and then that's going to automatically send it to that Google Sheet that I've gone ahead and formatted there, and paste that source link. And so now as you get more and more into selling on Amazon, you're going to have larger and larger lists, whether it's certain holidays or this example here where it's a list of things that were almost good when you sourced it, and those become good over time, right? So instead of starting from zero when you're sourcing, you can check this list every so often, see if those prices started to go up, or just wait for Keepa to send you that email. Be like, hey, where did I source that from again? Oh yeah, let me paste the ASIN into my Google Sheet. I bought it from Herbs Pro. Let me go buy much more of these, right? So that's a little bit more complicated than the true fundamental stuff, but those of you guys that take advantage of that, you're going to make a ton of extra money on that. And as far as product sourcing goes, all you're going to need is Keepa and SellerAmp, like I was talking about. Those are going to be the foundational tools for sourcing inventory. But of course, you also need a way to actually figure out how much your business is making, send items into Amazon, make the listings, all the boring stuff that you want to be as fast as possible. And that's where you're going to start using Boxem for your Amazon business. So just to show you an example of an item that, I sold a bunch of these Stanley cups. If any of you guys have been selling on Amazon for a long time, you definitely remember these. But you're able to see advanced analytics on every single product that you sell on your store. So you can see we sold like $3,000 worth of these cups, paid about $880 for it. There's my profit. There's what I paid in fees. You can see a bunch more of the metrics about this item, and you'll be able to track this on every single item that you sell, whether it is by category for your entire store. If you're trying to figure out how much money am I making in total, you're able to see all that on Boxem, as well as really important stats like how much total inventory value do you have, and based on the inventory you have, how much you expected to sell, so you can forecast for the future using Boxem as well. You'll also end up using Boxem to create FBA shipments. So you can see this is one that I've gone ahead and started here, but as you're listing items to ship off to Amazon, it'll show you everything that is required as far as FNSKU labels. If your item needs a poly bag, it'll let you know about that. It also makes it as simple as humanly possible to assign all these products to boxes, basically telling Amazon what's in each box and getting those FNSKU labels printed out so you can properly have those ship off to Amazon and start making sales. Once again, if you're at the stage in your business where you're ready to start sending off shipments, I'll leave a link down below. There's a completely free course down there with kind of some modules that'll break down each individual step. So if you want to see in full detail how to step by step make a shipment, go ahead and hop into there. But through the process of making shipments on Boxem, you're going to be able to save a little bit of money on shipping typically, and also take advantage of 2D barcodes. So here's an example of a shipment that I actually finished already, and you can see I was able to automatically generate a 2D barcode on this label, and this helps my Amazon business and all other Boxem users see sales a couple days faster on average, and it doesn't take any extra work. Really just trying to show you the highlight reel of all these things that you'll want to use to sell on Amazon, but that's another way to just differentiate yourself, make sure you're making those sales as fast as possible there. And by the way, there's going to be a bunch of different resources and software as mentioned in this video, so if you're confused or just want them all listed out, I'll leave links down below. You can check out free trials of all of these. Pretty much all these tools are free for your first couple weeks as well, so play around with it, see if you actually like making money on Amazon, all that kind of thing. And then that is going to take me into the last paid software that you need as an Amazon seller, and this is one that you don't really need until you have, I would say, 10 to 20 products listed in your store. So to truly get started, Boxem, Keepa, and SellerAmp, that's less than $100 a month on software. And then some point pretty early in your journey, you'll probably also want a software called Be Cool. You can also use repricers like Aura, or eventually if you want to use a repricer called SellerSnap. Those are both slightly more advanced repricers, but Be Cool is a really solid choice for beginners. And basically what you're going to be able to do is go in on any item that you have sourced and listed on your store using Boxem. It'll show you how much you have in quantity, and the really important part is being able to set a minimum and maximum price for those products. So basically on this book that I sold a really long time ago, going out to thrift stores, that was basically how I got started on Amazon. I decided that this item needed to stay at least $16, but go no higher than $55. And within that range, it's going to follow the rule that I automatically set up, configured. And basically what that rule is going to do is make sure that my price is always matching the buy box, whether it's going up or down within that range. It's always going to try to make sure I make as much profit as possible on those listings while moving my prices around automatically, so that I'm not having to change prices to the current market rates and be worrying about pricing all the time, that kind of thing. And changing prices manually is still something that you're doing. You got several products that you listed. I would recommend just checking out some repricers. There's lots of different options, and usually there's free trials. So by the time you run out of free trials. You can have 2 or 3 months of repricing, figure out which one you actually like, and you'll be nicely scaling on Amazon after 2 to 3 months of serious effort anyway. And that's actually going to bring me on to the free tool section of the video. This is more fun. I know, no more money being spent after this point, right? And the next free tool I want to mention is called SellerAmp QVS. So it is a separate Chrome extension from SellerAmp, but it's completely free and it's very simple. You can see I've searched for a brand, Stafford. It's like a classic auto ungated brand that I use as an example. And you can see when you search for anything on Amazon, it's going to show up these little tiles right here. And these are extremely useful because it's going to show you just very basic information about the product, specifically the offer count. And why seeing the offer count at a glance is useful is because when I'm looking at this, you can see basically all of these have 11 offers, 6 offers, 10 offers, and so on. That basically proves to me that this is a very reseller friendly brand. The more listings I'm able to see just at a glance that have lots of sellers, the more likely it is that I'm also going to be able to source it from a big website, a wholesaler, something like that. And I'm not going to have to worry about competing with the brand direct. So if I compare that to something like this, where it has one FBA offer, I bet that the brand themselves is probably selling this. And in this case, that's exactly what's going on, right? I can see the brand is 3-day weekend and it's sold by 3-day weekend, right? So in that example, pretty obvious that this is a private label product. And whenever you're just doing initial brand research to figure out if a new brand is worth selling, it's always good to just plug in that brand name. You let SellerAmp QVS show you at a glance how many of those different listings have, a certain amount of sellers. And if you see lots of different third-party sellers having success, usually a good sign that you can double down on that. The next thing on the list is something that we're probably all using to send some emails and do our homework and whatever, is actually just using AI within your Amazon business, specifically Boxy AI, which is the first AI assistant for Amazon sellers, and it's already included with your Boxum account. And just as an example, I want to show you a few different ways you can use this to make more money in your business. Example number one, way that I've found Boxy to be helpful is being able to identify where we can source products from, right? So I went ahead and copy pasted the title of just like a jockey t-shirt, right? It's a brand that is fairly reseller friendly. If you don't have a reseller friendly brand, don't worry. We can have Boxy tell us what brands we can even sell. But for this example, I wanted to test Boxy's ability to figure out how we can actually create profit margin, get discounts on items, and so on, right? So I just copy pasted this title and I said, hey, where can I find this as cheap as possible? What coupons or discounts can I stack? And Boxy was able to correctly identify that the cheapest place for me to get this today was JCPenney, especially after considering that we can get a discounted gift card, apply any coupons that go on, and stack an email code as well. So it's showing us lots of different ways that we can create extra profit on this item. Boxy can help you figure out where to actually source the items from after you've identified a profitable opportunity, right? But let's say you don't even have a profitable opportunity, you're not sure what specific product you want to look into. Boxy can also tell you what products you even want to source to begin with. So in this example, again, I just used Jockey as an example. You can just plug in basically any brand that you want to sell into a prompt like this and say, hey, this is what I like to sell right now. What are some other similar brands with reseller friendliness that I should be on the lookout for? And within Boxy, it understands these terms. It understands what you're looking for. That's why it's powerful to have an AI that's actually trained to be helpful for Amazon sellers specifically. We don't need to explain what this means. We don't need to explain why it needs to look for listings with low offer counts and all that kind of stuff, right? It's just immediately going to be able to identify several brands. And actually on this list specifically, I have sold every single one of these brands that Boxy identified as an opportunity that we should probably go out and look into. And another thing that's really powerful with Boxy is it's able to specifically suggest YouTube resources, online resources that help us make all this easier to source, to find, all that kind of stuff, right? From here, it would be as simple as going ahead and starting to search for some of these other products on Amazon. On this list specifically, let's just take Tommy Hilfiger, for example. It's suggesting that as a reseller friendly brand. Like I said, I've sold all these brands before. We're just using one of these as an example. And if you need to understand from here how to actually source profitable products, we're just going to pull up product here. In fact, let's just put it to the test here, right? Give me a specific starting product to reverse source some Tommy Hilfiger leads. So for us, it suggested to look at this listing specifically. And if you're new to Amazon, Boxy is basically like your personal Amazon coach now, because you can see it's giving us literally step-by-step directions. It's showing us what to look out for. It's showing us, look at popular colors. It makes total sense. Those are going to sell faster. And just for the fun of it, 3 more resources down there at the bottom that you could start from. So let's just paste that example that Boxy gave us, and we're going to be able to source some leads off of this. Because on this example, you can see that this is sold by a third-party seller. And on this listing, that's basically what we needed Boxy to identify for us. And then to source products from here, all we need to do, if you're watching this video, I assume you have some familiarity with reverse sourcing, selling on Amazon, all that kind of stuff. Now we have this seller here who has lots of different opportunities and even more brands that I've sold a lot of over the last few years on Amazon, right? Boxy is able to identify what brands are good for you to sell, how to source them, where to even start, some tips and tricks to look out. And all this is basically trained on thousands of hours of Amazon seller videos and resources that are actually designed to help you as an Amazon seller. And with all that in mind, now that we know how to find some of these opportunities, let's go on to talking about some free tools you can use to find the best discounts and sales on these opportunities. And when it comes to sourcing profitable items, one of the most important things is knowing when it's a good time to source certain websites. So to do that, I use a free tool called Session Buddy. And this is just an example. I like to use this free Chrome extension, just kind of save a list of websites that I like to source from. Because what you'll find is a lot of times the best coupons and sales and sourcing opportunities maybe aren't even going to get it emailed out. They're not going to become super talked about, that kind of thing. But a lot of times they'll literally just show up on the homepage. For example, before I dive in and do any sourcing, I always like to figure out what is cheap, where my opportunity is. For example, using this to just remember a lot of my favorite websites, I was able to see immediately, oh, if I come across any supplement products doing storefront stalking, looking through SellerAmp storefront. So if I come across any supplements or vitamins, looking through storefronts on SellerAmp, minerals, probiotics, basically just kind of like healthy supplements, I know that I can get 20% off on those, right? Because very rarely are you going to buy something at full retail price. The vast majority of the profitable items you're going to sell on Amazon are going to be because you found them on a limited time pricing opportunity, right? Whether that's a coupon, a sale, a clearance item, deal from your wholesaler, wherever you're buying inventory from, you need to just kind of have a quick way to figure out what is cheap every single day. For example, here's 20% site-wide at Vitacost. That's another really good opportunity. Now I know as I'm sourcing, I can basically have it in the back of my mind that, hey, any natural grocery type products, supplements, anything that Vitacost sells is cheaper today as well. And going along with just making a list of websites that you like to source from, you can also just start tracking the coupons and that kind of thing. So literally free with Gmail, whatever you want to use, start plugging in your email into these websites. And those emails that used to be spam, promotion, that kind of thing, now when you get those emails telling you about certain sales and brands that are cheap today, you should see dollar signs, right? Because now that means those are sourcing opportunities for your Amazon business. And expanding on making sourcing products even easier, I want to give you two more free resources to take advantage of. One being Cashback Monitor. So for example, those like the baby bottle things we're looking at, when we're buying these from, I think it was Herbs Pro, we obviously can get extra bonus money, right, with cashback. So I can plug this website in and I can see which cashback provider, all these are free services to use. Basically just click their button and then go check out to get cashback. Which of these cashback services have the highest rates? So in this example, Top Cashback has 10.1%. They're definitely trying to one up, or I guess 0.1 up a couple of these other cashback providers here who are doing like 10%, 9%, and so on. And this just helps me pick the right cashback provider to go in, make sure I'm getting as much bonus money as possible. So when we were looking at those products, we already know we were going to make $3.50 profit per unit or so. But now when we use cashback, we're also going to get almost an extra $1 back per unit. And I do want to add the caveat that you shouldn't include that in your purchasing decisions. Like you'll never see me go in and subtract the discount from cashback from my cost, see if that makes it profitable. Just because the cashback doesn't always pay out, especially when we are doing high volume reselling, that kind of thing, they're not always going to track every transaction, or if they do, they might not want to pay out every single transaction. For me, I would say it's 60 to 70% of transactions we make actually get tracked and properly pay out cashback. That is a very significant amount of cashback if you're like playing the game correctly using this tool. But I don't want you to go out and make sourcing decisions based on cashback being super high. It doesn't pay out. And then you're doing charity work, selling products, making no money, right? Don't include it in your margin, but just make sure you're getting as much bonus money as possible. And then you can throw that bonus money at whatever you want, whether that's inventory, personal use, that kind of thing. That's totally up to you. And we also don't even need to stop there because we can also increase our margins even further. So I'm not sure I've never seen that smaller websites. In this example, I don't think our smaller website being Herbs Pro sells discounted gift cards, but a site like Best Buy obviously does. And what we can do is we can go in here and we can see, number one, the discounts over time. This is really cool just to track when certain websites have really big discounts on gift cards. And I can also go in here and start to buy essentially discounted money. When we're sourcing all across the internet, you're going to end up on basically every website. And when you're checking out, you can pretty much always use a gift card. So for example, at Best Buy, I can buy a $500 gift card for $495. Typically, I obviously want to see a little bit higher discount rate than that. And really depends on the retailer if you're going to see like a really high discounted gift card rate. So let's check like Sephora. I've definitely bought a bunch of stuff from Sephora just so you can see how it works, which by the way, these services are all free to use. It's essentially just buying a gift card. They'll email that gift card number to you and then you'll use it at checkout. So I can see, yeah, there's 22 $50 gift cards. I can buy them for $44 each. And I would immediately save 11% on every single unit that I'm buying from Sephora today. There's another basically free way to increase your profit margins even more. The only real cost is buying the gift card first and then using that gift card at checkout. Slight time cost, but to save 11%, that's going to be very worthwhile. And this is one of those things that makes a lot of items profitable rather than just hoping you find it profitable at retail price. If you're the seller that's going in, taking that extra step, you're going to find way more profitable items than someone who's always just looking for the basic, super easy products to find. And when you take these extra steps, take advantage of of really high cash back, taking advantage of these discounted gift cards, you're going to end up sourcing items that just have less competition because they were harder to create the profit on. And then as you're sourcing all these profitable products, of course, not every single transaction is going to go exactly as planned. So that's where I've been personally selling a good amount of stuff on Walmart lately. For the process of selling on Amazon, that's where I use another free Chrome extension called WAMP. This is actually built by SellerAmp, and it is essentially SellerAmp for Walmart. You're able to very quickly calculate all your fees. So for example, on this item selling for $19.97, I'm able to see, hey, if I buy this for $5, it's probably going to cost me another $5 to ship it, and that's my profit, right? Or let's say you're shipping these to Walmart fulfillment services. That's basically Walmart's version of FBA. You can toggle between and see the fee differences there. And this is really nice to have because for quite a while, there was essentially no good tools for selling on Walmart. Now you can just go ahead and use WAMP for free. It's a nice backup plan when it comes to selling on Amazon. Maybe you like selling on Walmart more as well, and you can do all your sourcing with WAMP as well. But hopefully this has been a valuable sort of speed run through all the tools that you can use to grow your Amazon business. If you made it all the way here, you're clearly serious about making some money online. So go ahead and grab 2-week free trials. Check out all the other free tools down below in the description. If you have any questions, comments, drop those down below as well. Would love to answer those questions. Or if you just want to say hi, go ahead and drop it down below. I always like seeing who's watching the videos. And if you want to spend an extra 2 seconds helping me out, you can hit and subscribe down below. Help me hit 100,000 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. We're getting super close. And if you want to keep learning how to sell products on Amazon, you can click this video right here and it'll show you how to source products that are already automatically ungated for your account.